Now, without losing much time, Dr. M.S. Reddy, the second part, post-interval part, is the webinar for which we have all gathered today, besides the launch of EcoVoice and keynote address from Dr. Malhotra.
With that, I would like to bring back our close friend, one of my best friend and world famous entomologist, born and raised in Tamil Nadu, who right now in world headquarters in Taiwan for vegetables. Dr. Srini, I would like to bring him because it's too late for him. He's going to brief us. Question to him. Dr. Ramaswamy Srinivas Ramaswamy, what expertise you could offer to move forward globally for Bio-Agri Stimulants and PGPR, and your knowledge, the market scenario in Asian countries. Srinu, would like to hear on this subject.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Reddy, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I'm always happy to represent Asian PGPR Society. I couldn't resist any invitation from Dr. Reddy so far. So that's the reason I'm here, although it's almost like 10:30 p.m. But I really enjoy joining all the meetings arranged by Asian PGPR Society as well as the BIPA. So yeah, based on the question, based on my experience over the last 17 years in both Asia and Africa, I just like to briefly give you the status of biopesticides in the context of pest management systems in Asia and Africa. So as Dr. Reddy mentioned, I have been heading the flagship program, which is called Safe and Sustainable Value Chains, based at World Vegetable Center's headquarters. Probably you might be knowing it as AVRDC, Asian Vegetable Research and Development Center, which has been transformed as a World Vegetable Center in the last decade. Okay. When we talk about biopesticides, still, you know, predominantly the products are microbial pesticides. Then when we further segregate the microbial pesticides, you know, 90% of the microbial pesticides are based on Bacillus thuringiensis, which has come to the market almost a century ago. So why I am highlighting this one, still there is a lot of gap where the scientific community need to bring lots of innovative and new products to be commercialized by the industry eventually. So looking at the biopesticides, you know, there are over 200 products in the United States. Comparatively, it's only 60 products in EU. Probably you all might be aware of the reasons because of the complexity associated with the registration of these biopesticides in EU compared to North America. And again, worldwide, almost like 45% of the biopesticides are sold in just in United States, Canada, and Mexico. And what about Asia? Sadly, it's only about 5% of the biopesticides. Why is it like this? Okay. One of the reasons is the complexity of pests and diseases. I keep insisting in several of the meetings where I participate, you know, in the farmers' context, they need a holistic solution. So in the tropical situation, be it in Asia or in Africa, there is a plethora of pests and diseases attacking a crop. So as a farmer, I would like to get a holistic solution, an innovative product, which can offer a broad range of solutions to me. But as I indicated, there is a lack of product. There are few products dominate in the market, and still there are lots of gap, especially for managing the plant diseases and also the sucking insects. And the other issue is the diverse agroclimatic conditions. Even if you take the Asian situation, There are like arid regions, semi-arid region, humid tropics, dry and hot tropical regions. So we need to have the product portfolio fitting for these different agroclimatic conditions. And the most important factor I would highlight is the lack of push and pull factors. What I mention as push factor here is the scaling out, the promotion of these biological inputs. Quite often it comes as a recommendation, an individual recommendation by a sole institute like a university or just by a research institute. But I don't see any large scale movement for promoting bioproducts to reduce the chemical inputs in many countries in both Asia and Africa. The other side, when we move to the consumer end, it's called the pull factors. Because quite often I used to come across farmers who tell me, okay, I produce the food crops or vegetable crops or fruits using all these biological inputs. So it's a safe produce. But when I take it to the market, nobody differentiate it. I don't get any economic incentive for these things. Of course, there are emerging niche markets coming, like organic markets or gap markets, but they are all very tiny, which is not catering to the number of farmers who are willing to produce these things in a safe way. So the pull factor is still lacking in many of these countries. And the last factor is the lack of enabling environment. As I indicated, there are not many large scale initiatives in terms of promoting these biological products. Okay, just I like to quickly highlight some of this current situation in terms of biopesticide market and the use in Asia. I don't think I need to highlight anything for India because there are lots of experts, industrial experts who know the situation very well. But the reason I put India here is it's a very advanced country in terms of bringing the bio inputs into the market long back. Our personal association happened in the beginning of 2000s for the pheromones, when there were no exclusive regulatory dossier for commercializing the pheromones, but quickly it was just put under the same pesticide registration under the CIB, and they exempted some of the data requirement. You know, the first product we brought to India was the pheromone for the eggplant fruit and shoot bearer. You know the importance of this pest and how much pesticide being applied in the eggplant crop. One of the basic statistics which we did in 2002 or 2003 showed it like 80 to 180 sprayings per season in an eggplant crop. So that's the reason we wanted to bring this the pheromone. And this was quickly put into the registration system. I think by the end of 2005, there were like 9 companies who got registration for this product and started selling. So this is just one example to highlight where India was a pioneering country to bring the biological inputs as an effective alternative for the chemical inputs. Then coming to Bangladesh, everything started from very rudimentary stage. You know, after sustained effort for a couple of years, it happened, I think, in mid 2009. It was July 2009 where they got the biopesticide legislation, which eventually led to the commercialization of the bioproducts in Bangladesh. But now Bangladesh is one of the most advancing countries in terms of bringing lots of bioproducts. If I recall correctly, based on my interaction during a visit in early 2019 to the country, there were 60 biological products were in the pipeline to be launched within the 2019. Okay, now let us move to the two countries in Southeast Asia, Thailand and Vietnam. The reason I put them, they are also quite advanced countries in terms of bringing lots of biological inputs into the market. And here comes the push factor. You know, they both launched the good agricultural practices, the GAP. In Thailand, it's called a QGAP. In Vietnam, it's called a Viet GAP. And because of the promotion of the GAP certification system among the producers, they were mandated to look for all these safe alternatives, which created a big market demand for the safe alternatives. So the products were picked up quite well. So there are a number of products available in the market in these countries. But if you look at the last two countries in Southeast Asia, the situation was very different. But luckily, there was a big initiative from the German government side. So the German Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, they implemented a huge project to harmonize the regulatory processes for commercializing the biocontrol agents across the Southeast Asian nations. So this project provided a basic platform to develop the regulatory dossier for commercializing the bio inputs in these countries. But then simultaneously, the Japanese government was pumping a lot of money to develop the GAP certification standards to be launched in both these Cambodia and Lavopedia. So simultaneously, there were a kind of like push factor and also a pull factor working together. So Cambodia finally launched its biopesticide legislation by December 2017, 3 years ago, which brought lots of products into the market. And one thing I like to highlight here, more than half of the products in Cambodia are coming from India. Cambodia doesn't have the capacity to manufacture within the country of all these products. To my knowledge, they have only one indigenous product based on the trichoderma. So most of the other products are coming from the Indian companies filling the market, and it's being widely adopted by all these organic farmers, GAP farmers. But if you look at the last country in the list, although the GAP standard was launched, was promoted among the farmers, still it is in a very rudimentary state where the companies are not bringing any products so far in the market, but the ground is there. So what I meant to say here, Laos is having a huge opportunity, but still there is a gap to be filled in terms of biological products. Okay, let me quickly move to Africa. Of course, Africa is a large continent with a huge difference between the countries. So let me take the East Africa versus West Africa. East Africa is very well known for horticulture, especially for the flower industry and also some of the vegetable industry, which are predominantly being exported to the European Union. So because of the horticultural industry, there is always a big demand for the plant protection products. So in the recent times, because of the strict regulations from the EU side, in terms of the pesticide residues in all these producers or the planting materials in terms of the flower crops, all these producers are forced to look for the safe alternatives. And at the same time, there are a couple of private sector who started investing in East African countries. And I must say, there are lots of efforts. I mean, the R&D efforts being put forward by the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology, who has the largest collection of the, say, all these microbial pathogenic organisms controlling insect pests or diseases in their gene bank. So they also try to pass several most virulent strains to these interstate companies. So there are lots of products being launched in the last 5 to 10 years in the East African market. I would say it's a huge effort in terms of public-private partnership. So it brought several innovative products into the market, which also spread across the countries in the region like Tanzania and Ethiopia. However, in terms of adoption rate, still there is a huge variation when we compare countries like Kenya versus Tanzania or Ethiopia. But relatively, the increased adoption of biological products is much higher in East Africa compared to West Africa. Then again, I would like to highlight here, several of the products are also coming from the Indian companies targeting this part of Africa. So there is again a huge opportunity existing to fill the gap in this part of the world. However, the West Africa situation is very, very different because the horticulture industry is much smaller compared to East Africa. So there are still very less efforts, and mainly these efforts are put forward by the international organizations like International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, and the role of private sector participation is much lesser compared to East Africa. And still the commercialization is happening through the NGOs or a kind of like social enterprises in West Africa. So the bottom line is there is a huge potential still existing in this continent, in both the East and West Africa, especially in the humid regions where water availability is more contributing for the horticultural industry. So still there is a huge vacuum which can be filled by the most experienced companies in India or the other part of the world. So with this, I like to stop to provide more room for discussion. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Srini. So Dr. Ramasamy, wonderful. You covered the Asian continent and African continent all the time. You have a lot of knowledge in your brain. All the best to your family and your son, and to the, you're wonderful all the time. I hear from you from Sri Lanka to Taiwan, wherever I met you in the United States. You were always give us a very, very clear picture. There's no such hidden things. I like it. I appreciated it. I thank you very much. I think it's time for you to go to bed. And if anybody has any question to Ramasamy, because he has to sleep, so please, Dr. Raj, he has any panelist has any question to him?
No, we said to the panelists that we'll take the questions at the end, so they.
Yeah, I know he's going, so that's okay. Thank you, Srinu. So good night to you. Yeah, good night to you from all of us. Thank you very much. We'll catch you some other time. Thank you.
Thank you.